My deadbeat brother abandoned his kids with my parents and never returned. Now, after 6 years of no contact, my parents are asking me for help. I just laugh in their faces and remind them of how they responded when I begged for help with my medical expenses.
I, a 31-year-old male, have had no contact with my parents for almost 6 years.
This started when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and asked them to help me with the cost of my medication since my insurance wouldn't cover it. They refused. At that time, I was between jobs and short on money, and everyone knows how expensive medicines are. As usual, my parents let me down. We got into a pretty bad fight when they refused, and I told them that it was stupid of me to expect anything from them in the first place since they had never bothered to care about me at all. They never tried to apologize, so we just stopped speaking. Even when we saw each other at family get-togethers, we wouldn't speak. They were on good terms with my brother, Carson, despite him being a total screw-up, which isn't surprising since he was always their favorite. Carson has been this way for the past 8 years. He has gone sober several times but has never been able to make it stick. I honestly feel bad for him because a couple of months back, he lost his wife in an accident and was left with 2 kids, both boys under 10, to take care of. I knew his wife, she was a wonderful, sweet person, and I think she was the only thing keeping him from becoming a full-fledged raging alcoholic who couldn't be bothered to do anything else but drink himself to unconsciousness every day. The grieving just made it worse, and he was fired from his job shortly after his wife passed away because he hadn't even bothered to show up or explain his absence. Every single day, he would drop his kids off at his in-laws' house or our parents' house and then spend the rest of the day drinking at home. He would only sober up enough to drive to pick his children up, bring them back home, put them to bed, and the next day, he would repeat the same thing. About a week ago, he dropped his kids off at our parents' place and said he would be back to pick them up at the end of the day as usual. A couple of hours later, he just sent them an email saying that he wouldn't be returning because he knew he was not a good father and didn't want his children to grow up with him. He left them with our parents because he knew they could care for them better and wish them luck. He also blocked our parents and his in-laws after that, so they couldn't reach out to him either, and nobody had any idea where he was. After a couple of days of trying to find out where he was, they gave up. My parents decided to contact me and tell me all about this so they could ask me to help them out financially. Both my parents are retired now and have retirement funds set aside for themselves. Still, they are unsure if they can support themselves and the kids with just that money. His in-laws have already surrendered and said they cannot take on this responsibility, so I'm the only person they can count on because I'm family, and they were relying on me now. I haven't had any contact with Carson over the past couple of years. We were not on bad terms, but we were never really close, possibly because of the age gap. I like my nephews, but I thought it was unfair of them to ask me for help, especially when I knew they had the resources and means to raise the kids on their own. My parents were well off when they were working, so I found it hard to believe they wouldn't be able to raise 2 kids on their own without my financial help. I told them that as much as I wanted the kids to have a bright future, I could not set aside my own and prioritize them, so I wouldn't be helping them out with the money. Instead of respecting that, my parents started arguing with me, saying that as a family member, I should realize that we are in this together and that I need to help them. I found that pretty laughable because I still remember what they said to me when I asked them to help with my medical expenses 6 years ago. I repeated the same words to them: "Don't rely on us just because we are your family, you need to figure out some things on your own." That's what they said to me when I told them I needed help for a couple of months with the cost of medication since it was necessary and expensive. Still, I would manage everything else on my own. It wasn't even a lot of money, and I eventually managed it on my own after cutting many corners, which I wouldn't have had to do if they had just helped me out. But what they were asking for here was a lot of money every year, and I had my future to think about as well. I plan on having kids of my own in a year or two with my wife of 2 years now, so it's not practical for me to commit to contributing to helping them out, and I made that very clear to them. Besides, we have not been in touch for the past 6 years. What were they even expecting, anyway? They got really pissed off when I repeated their own words back to them. They said I was being a jerk and that they couldn't believe I was just turning my back on them like this because of something that happened 6 years ago. Then they started emotionally manipulating me and asked if I were in their place, would I have said the same thing? So, I told them that if I were in their place, I would have called CPS and let them handle it because this was getting too much for me. Then I hung up. My parents told everybody about the CPS comment I had made and how I refused to help, and now the rest of the family is texting me to let me know that I'm being heartless right now. I don't understand what to do. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents that I will not be helping them out with money to raise my deadbeat alcoholic brother's kids? Edit: I guess I wasn't exactly clear with how my relationship with my brother and his family was. First things first, I knew his wife before they got married because we went to the same college together, and it was a happy little coincidence. Secondly, I had never tried to go no contact with my brother, but I guess it just happened. After I cut my parents out of my life, even he stopped speaking to me. He congratulated me on my wedding a couple of years back, but that was it. So, I guess he also started distancing himself from me after my fallout with my parents, and I guess I resented him a bit for that. And yes, even though I had remained in no contact with my parents, I had never blocked them. I don't really have a reason for it. I guess I just forgot or never found it necessary because the last time we fought 6 years back, I believed they would eventually reach out to apologize or at least try to talk to me. That's why I kept that door open, but when they didn't, I decided to forget about it, so I never blocked them. Most importantly, I did not tell my parents to report this situation to CPS because I don't care for my nephew's well-being, but because I don't think having an alcoholic as a father was helping them in any way. If my parents were really finding it difficult to deal with them, then what other option did they have? Anyway, I didn't mean to sound heartless, so that might have been misconstrued and taken out of context, but I just wanted to end that conversation. However, ultimately it is their choice what they want to do. That's that out of the way, so I hope this gives you guys more context about my relationship with my family. Update 1. Hello everybody, thanks to everyone who commented on the original post. I feel much better and more confident about my decision after going through the comment section. I finally blocked my parents after 6 years since I realized that nothing good would come out of this. I also blocked all my relatives who had texted me to let me know that I was wrong for what I was doing and that I was emotionless and heartless. These are the same people who saw me being treated badly all my life and never stepped up for me, but now just because I refuse to help my parents out when they need it, I'm the bad guy? Yeah, right, my parents have always been closed off and aloof with me. Even when I was younger, I could see how differently I was treated from my brother. They didn't even bother to put up an act when we were around the rest of our family, so it was no big secret that my parents had a favorite, and it was not me. Nobody ever stood up for me, so I don't think I need to tolerate any of this. This is why my wife and I decided to stay no contact with my parents, but we also cut off my side of the family entirely. We don't need that sort of negativity in our life. My wife's family is pretty much my family at this point, so it's not like I'll be missing out on anything either. We celebrate all the major events with her family, so I don't think this will make much difference to either of us. I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders because even in the past, my family would occasionally hint that my parents were getting old and lonely, so I should probably fix things with them before it's too late. I could never explain to them that it was not needed to fix anything. They needed to come to me, and until they did, I would not set aside my self-respect and go to them. But now I don't have to explain that to anybody because nobody's going to be bothering me about my parents anymore. Update 2. 2 weeks have passed since my last update, and my parents paid me a visit today. I had blocked them, so they couldn't reach me otherwise, and they had to come and see me in person, or at least that's what they said to me when they saw me outside in the front yard. It was my bad luck that I was out there in the first place since I thought today would be a good day to prune some of the hedges. So, I was outside in the morning, and then my parents pulled up in a cab. When they got out, I tried to rush inside the house, but they had already spotted me and told me I needed to wait for some reason.